Welcome to the Noon at Northside podcast with your host, Pastor Stephanie. Well, welcome back, everybody. I am so excited that you guys are able to join us again. Before we get started on this week's episode, just want to remind everyone that this is the second episode in this month's topic of intergenerational faith. And if you haven't had the chance to listen to our first episode, I highly recommend that you go and listen to that. It's a great, introduction into what intergenerational faith, why it's important, and kind of gives us a nice visual aid about, what it is that we're talking about and, why we talk about it in the first place. So if you have already gone and listened to that, this week we've got our special guest who is going to be here to kind of continue the conversation with us on intergenerational faith. Our guest speaker today is someone who attends here at Northside. Her name is Donna Hollis. She'll give her a little background into who she is and, why she's here with us today. But I just wanted to share with you that what's so special about her as our guest speaker today is that she's not only going to explain, what intergenerational means to her, but she's also going to provide for us a really fun example of how she does intergenerational faith. She's a very unique person in our church as to how she communicates. She is an older member of our congregation who frequently teaches down in our Kingdom Kids area with our children during worship. And she's got a really fun way of interacting with people of all ages. And it is just incredible. And so we're going to not only have her talk with us this morning, but we're also going to show later on her example of how she teaches intergenerationally. And so I'm super excited for you guys to, take a look, be a part of that. If you're listening to this and you don't have access to the video, it is on our Facebook page, Noon at Northside Podcast, for you to take a look and listen to. So here we go. Here is my friend Donna Hollis to talk to us a little bit more about intergenerational faith.
Hi, I'm Donna Hollis. I'm a member here at Northside. I'm a retired teacher and a retired pastor's wife. My husband was a pastor in Illinois for 47 years. And 8 years ago, we retired and we moved here to Elkhart to be near our daughter and her family. It's been a great 8 years so far. And, having pastored for 47 years, we knew what made up a good layman. And oh my goodness, how much we appreciated good laymen. So one of our goals in retirement was to be a good layman. And, that means to get involved and to help out where you can help out, where your gifts lay, which is not just retired pastors. That should be for everyone. Well, that kind of leads me to the subject that I'm talking about today, and that's the word intergenerational. Sometimes I feel like I am one. Well, really, a person can't be intergenerational because it means you can't be all ages at the same time. But I've been through most of them. I'm not an octogenarian yet, so I haven't been through that one. But, I was a toddler, and then I was a young person, then I was a teenager and a young adult, middle-aged adult, and now I'm an older adult. And I'll never say old because, you're only as old as you think you are. So, anyway, enough about age. Intergenerational is a big word, and it's not all that complicated. But some people are really confused by that. Yesterday I was talking to an older person, and when I mentioned that my husband and I were going to be going to the intergenerational service in the Connection, in just a little while, she said, "What is intergenerational?" Now, everybody had been invited to this because you could be any age to come to something that's intergenerational because you're of some generation and we wanted to mix them all up. But she didn't understand what that word meant, so therefore she had no idea that she was invited to be part of it. So let's talk about that for a minute. I'm going to go back. Many of my years of teaching, I substitute taught, so I was in several grades. But my last 20 years of teaching was in kindergarten. When I interviewed for kindergarten, I told them I had two goals. One was to have fun, that the kids would have fun. And the second goal was that they would learn something. And they hired me. So my goal was that every month we would have a special day. We would count how many days until that special day. We would talk about it and plan on it and build up a lot of excitement. Now, what that has to do with intergenerational? On those special days, most of the time, I would need moms, dads, grandparents, neighbors. We would need adults to come in and help the kids. And so we would line those up, and I'm telling you, the kids would be so excited when someone that they knew came in to be our helper that day, and we would have several. It just made so much difference in their lives that someone they knew was there. Now, you know, one of those days was making applesauce. And it was interesting at the end of the day that the moms or the ladies, most of the time it was ladies, were amazed, and they said, especially the younger ones, and they said, we could do this at home. I'm going to make applesauce at home. And so it was fun that they learned as well as the kids, and it was always a special day. Because you see, there are things that adults know that children don't know. But there are things that children have learned that adults don't know. I wonder how many of you that are of, I'd say past 60, have ever talked to your grandchildren or a teenager you know, even a child, and said, how do you do this on the computer? What do I do with my iPhone? And they teach you. You know, intergenerational isn't a word we've just come up with. The word is in the Bible. In the Old Testament time, well, I don't know if the word is there, but the teaching is. It says, teach it to your children. It says it over and over. They would build altars when they crossed the Red Sea. He said the Lord directed them to get stones and build an altar. And this was especially true when they were going to bring down the walls of Jericho, and they had to pass the sea, and the Red Sea, they had to get stones and build this altar so that when the children saw it, they would say, what is that altar for? And the parents, the grandparents, the adults would say, that's when God did this amazing thing. How else would they know of the amazing God that we have? See, they were to teach it to their children, the adults were, so that when those children grew up, they then would teach it to their children. That's how we learn so much of the way. In fact, back in the Old Testament days when they didn't have recordings, that is how they learned. And they told them over and over again of the miracles that God did in delivering them from certain circumstances, situations. Intergenerational, one generation teaching another. You know, the value of interacting with, especially as older people interacting. I say older people, I don't mean senior citizens even. I'm just talking adults and interacting with children. They begin to know who you are. If you talk to them and ask them questions, and maybe you become their teacher, filling in down at Kingdom Kids sometime, or just working with them sometime, they begin to know that that's somebody they can talk to. Their eyes light up when they see you at church. They might even ask you to pray for something, or you'll ask them, is there something I can pray for you? And then watch them when a week or two later you ask them about that particular situation. They know you care. It's so important. teenagers, they need that connection. They need to know that we care about them. We don't all think they're just so odd. Why do they dress like that? Why do they do this? And let's not condemn them. Let's get to know them and pray for them and teach them the things that we know. And then listen to them, for they will teach you. You know, there's a lot of different ways that that speak to all ages. I was thinking about that last night. We were all given some paints and a board to paint on, and we followed directions. The first one was hard. Take a paintbrush and get it all over your canvas and make it all wet. Not too hard. The second one was take the yellow paint and go through the middle and make it wide. And then she demonstrated, and we all did it. All of us, from oldest to youngest. And then she gave further instructions, all as simple as the ones I just told you. We were all different ages, but all doing the same thing. And you know, we would, at our table, we had a grandma with 3 little ones, and then there were 2 couples. And we all joined in to help them. We would encourage them and say, oh, that looks so nice. Oh, you're doing such a good job. And I love the way you did this. And their eyes would light up. And, you know, it means a lot to them to hear that. Now, when I see one of them again, I might say to them something about, wasn't that fun when we painted? It was something that related to all ages. One of the things that I have done and I've been involved with and love seeing is puppets. Every age loves to watch puppets, and you can teach so much. Roger and Becky Zare in our church have done a great job in the ministry of puppetry. They don't get up and perform it. They teach our young teens and our teenagers. Well, they'll teach anybody who would be willing how to work the puppets, how to make them become alive. And when they do a puppet show, everybody wants to be in the sanctuary to watch them because they speak to every one of us. If it's a song, to watch them sing, the words become more meaningful as we watch the puppets. It's a medium that speaks to all ages. I've been privileged to have a puppet. I say privileged because they can be expensive. And I had a dog, and this dog fit over my hand. His name is Scruffy. He was with me most of my years of teaching kindergarten. I didn't use him all day long, but I did use him every day usually to tell the children goodbye, but at the beginning of the year to make them feel comfortable and not be so afraid. But I've used him many, many times to teach lessons at church. I would be his actions, of course, as my hand is inside of him, but he never talked. Well, in that you never heard his voice because he would whisper to me and then I would say what he was saying. I had taken a class on that, and they said if you do that, then anybody can use your puppet because he whispers to that person. So during COVID, we tried to, and this was the early days of COVID when everybody was isolated. There was no church, no school, no nothing. We were just supposed to stay home. And so to minister to the kids, we would often put on programs that we recorded and put on computer and put it on Facebook usually. And so I did some with Scruffy and taught the lesson through using him. Actually, he taught the lesson and I just helped him. I'm going to demonstrate that for you. I'm going to show you a video in just a few minutes, and you can watch that and see if you don't learn something. And you can show it to, if you're an adult, please show it to your children. Maybe they have already seen it. But it's just an example of one way that speaks to all generations. There's so many. Our children's pastor, Pastor Trina and Dallas, are so good about using that two different mediums to reach our kids, bring us all together for different activities so we can get to know each other, so we can pray for each other, so that we can show each other how God is active and alive in our lives and help each other. So we all need to be more intergenerational, react with and interact with each other. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Donna. That was awesome to hear you talk about, your story, what you've done, and, how you, do things intergenerationally. Your puppet, Scruffy, is one of my favorite things. I love watching everyone in our church use just a variety of different ways to teach people, whether that's teaching adults, teaching kids, or teaching teenagers, or teaching all of them combined. There really is, an importance to making sure you're using the right methods, but also varying methods to teach and communicate. We talked a little bit about, the importance of teaching through different generations and why that's important. But it's also important to teach different generations in the ways that you would teach a different generation. It is important that you don't just teach adults in a lecture format. Just as it's important that you don't just teach kids through arts and crafts. There is so many different ways that people learn and that people communicate. There are visual learners, there are auditory learners, there are kinetic learners. Everyone learns differently, no matter what generation you are. And it's important to take a method of teaching and find out how it can communicate to not just one, but to all generations, so that no matter who it is that's with you, they're learning and they're getting something out of what you're doing, what you're saying, and how you're doing it. And Scruffy, to me, is one of those just incredible ways, because it really does communicate to everybody. It makes it fun for all ages, for all generations, and everybody can learn from it. One thing Donna mentioned is that the important thing about Scruffy is Scruffy doesn't actually talk, which is interesting. But what makes it so interesting is that, Donna can go downstairs with Scruffy and teach a lesson, and then hand Scruffy off to one of her kids who can use Scruffy in the exact same way to communicate back. And that is how we do intergenerational worship, learning, and discipleship. That's what makes it intergenerational. So in just a few minutes, or just a few seconds, part of this is going to include a video example of Donna using Scruffy so that you have a visual and an auditory example of this tool for intergenerational faith. And I'm super excited about that. Keep in mind, if you aren't able to watch the video, it is here on our Facebook page. But I really hope you get something out of this. We'll be back next month with a whole new topic and a new guest speaker. And until then, I hope you guys have a great day. See you then.
Oh, Scruffy, there you are. Oh, well, Scruffy, it's Kingdom Kids time, and I thought you could help me today. Oh, all right, you want to help me? Well, Scruffy, can you look at me? No, huh? Oh, do you not want to talk to the kids today? Oh, you do. Well, Scruffy, is there a reason you don't want to look at me? I mean, I can't talk to you if you're... Oh, I see. You have a present, Scruffy. And what, you didn't want me to see it? I can't, Scruffy, I can't hear you. I'll hold the present for you, though. Oh, okay, I won't open it. Oh, not yet. Okay, well, is it a birthday present? Oh, no, it's not my birthday. Is it somebody's where you're going to a party? It's a present for me. Oh, Scruffy, that's sweet. Because you love me? Wow, Scruffy, that's really nice. It's not my birthday. Oh, Merry Christmas. It's my Christmas present. Oh, because you love me, Scruffy. That's so sweet. I love you too. And you bought me a present. Oh, it was hard shopping? Nobody would pay attention to a dog shopping. Oh, and they made you wear a mask. Oh, Scruffy, my goodness. You had to look a long time for something I would like. Scruffy, that was so thoughtful. Oh, and you even gave me a kiss. Oh, because you love me. Scruffy, I love you too, and that was so thoughtful. No, I don't know what made you think of it. The epic lesson Sunday about the magic people. Oh, you mean the Magi. They did travel a long way, and they brought gifts to Jesus. And that's what made you think about it. Well, Scruffy, so sweet. Well, Scruffy, talking about that, about the Magi, they didn't live close to Jesus, to where Jesus was born. In the next town, no, they actually lived countries away. And they had to travel a very, very long way to find him. Well, because they were very, very, very learned, very smart, and they studied the stars, and they knew that a king was born somewhere. And they wanted to pay honor to that king. No, they didn't know him. No, they didn't hear it on television. They didn't have all those things back then. But these men wanted to show honor and respect to the king that was being born. Yes, and so it was Jesus who was the king of the earth, of our Savior. That's right, Scruffy. Thank you for helping me. That was very good. And so you see, they came and they traveled for days. Yes, more than days. Months actually. It was not an easy journey. No, they had to travel on camel, but they wanted so much to honor this king, and you wanted to honor me because you love me. Well, Scruffy, should I open it? Yes, okay, I can do that. Oh, you didn't have any paper. Well, that's okay. I see that you used the collar, the scarf that you get when you get your hair cut. That's all you had. Right, Scruffy, I couldn't ask for more. That was great. So sweet of you. I can't even imagine what. I'm going to love it. Yeah, I bet I do. And you shopped a long time for that and went to a lot of work. Almost as much as the Magi. Okay, well, what could be in this? Oh, thanks for helping. Well, let's see. That wasn't... Here, let's get this thing. There we go. It's kind of hard one-handed. Well, my other hand's kind of busy right now. Okay. Scruffy, look what you got. A dog biscuit. Oh, my goodness. You knew I would love it. That was so thoughtful. Oh, I think it probably is a flavor that... Is it your favorite flavor? That's why you got it for me. Oh, Scruffy, I feel honored because you love me. Well, you know what, Scruffy? I so appreciate it. And I just want you to realize that what you did is kind of a little bit, helps us to understand about the Magi. They wanted to honor the one who was being born king, king of the Jews, and king of our hearts. We could give Jesus a dog pony for Christmas. Well, actually, the greatest present that we can give Jesus, and it doesn't just have to be at Christmas. In fact, he doesn't want it to be just Christmas. He wants us to give him our hearts. That's right. That means our love, our devotion, our lives, and love him. And he wants that, and that's the greatest gift we can give him. And that's any time of the year. That's why we can talk about his birthday, which is Christmas. We celebrate Christmas, but we can talk about it at any time. Well, that's making sense to you. Yeah, you're thinking about that. Well, I'm glad, because otherwise it would seem kind of silly to study about the Jesus' birth and the Magi when it's not Christmas. But it makes perfect sense, right? Almost perfect. That's right. That we can talk about his birth anytime, because he really was born. he really did live. He was a real person, and he really did die on the cross. Yes, he did rise again. And then he went up to heaven. That's right. And he's never died since then. And boys and girls, this can help you too to remember that we can show love to Jesus by showing love to other people, coming to church and learning about him. Bible stories. Have your mom read you Bible stories and memorize some verses like Jesus wept. Well, or for God so loved the world. Yeah, those are all good ones. So I hope that that you'll learn from Scruffy about how to give thoughtful gifts, but that it's our life and our love that we want to give to Jesus. Oh, I could show love to you by sharing my Christmas gift. Scruffy, I would be glad to share this. Sure, you can hold it. Well, anyway, boys and girls, thanks for joining us today, and I know that you will do your best to show love to others, and that's the way you show love to Jesus. Yeah, but I can't understand you. I can't hear you because you are holding the bone. Thanks, boys and girls, and thanks, Scruffy, and thanks again for the thoughtful gift.